All right, we are here on a Is it Thursday? I literally don't know anymore.
It is
I
Thursday. I
literally
had to think
don't
way
know
too hard
anymore.
about that.
Yeah, it's like time has lost all meaning for me.
Yes.
So yay. It is Thursday. Welcome to the Sunshine State Happy Hour, powered by FloridaBeerMedia.com. This is Dave, your host and author, and we are going to step out of state again, which is a wonderful thing. And we are going to Atlanta, Georgia, where all sorts of fun things have happened, and they've got quite the vibrant beer scene, from what I have heard, which is much more than just Sweetwater and Creature Comforts. Although those have their fans. And we're going to be chatting with Caroline King, who is the founder and host of Bitch Beer Podcast. And I will say it took me a very long time to really delve deep into your website and your logo and realize that there are two different shades of lipstick on the glassware of your logo.
Yep.
I was amazed to see that.
Yeah, so I used to have a co-host, Ashley, who's still a really good friend of mine. She stopped about like a year ago so she could focus on her wedding. And then I kept it going by myself.
Yeah.
But yeah, the lipsticks, because Ashley is red because she's like the more like sassy, like edgy one, and then mine is pink because I'm the super girly pink one. So not everybody notices that. So good catch.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm good job, me. There we go. So, how are things going in Atlanta? How has kind of the main section of Georgia really fared through the current quarantine crisis?
When it first started, everyone was just kind of still in shock. Like, can I curse? Sorry.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
We've had other people do it. I don't do it, but yeah.
Yeah, everybody was just kind of like,
you're fine.
What do we do? Like, everybody was just like, all right, I guess we'll just stay at home. Like, I panic bought everything at Costco, of course. And I was just like, ooh. And, I think it was everybody just kind of sticking together, kind of like trying to not go too crazy. And then it's been 3 months now. So it's not just something that's going away anytime soon. We're starting the phases of reopening, which I think was way too soon in my personal opinion. It's, the virus, I'm not a doctor and I don't really know much about the virus, but from what people who do know about the virus are saying is that, we should, keep quarantining. Of course, our cases aren't really going up anymore, which is great. So, but I think everybody's just kind of eager to get the economy reopened. And the great thing here that was a huge game changer is our mayor, Keisha Lance Bottoms, she allowed to go alcohol sales from premises and open container. So it's like freaking Bourbon Street walking around downtown Atlanta now. It was
interesting.
Yeah, it was great. That was a huge game changer because then restaurants, they could sell to-go food, but they could also sell to-go cocktails. So they weren't missing out too much on their cocktail sales, and they could still do specials and everything. Like I was picking up Mexican food, like one of the first weeks of the quarantine, and they were like, "Oh, we're doing a special if you get a bucket of margaritas." I was like, I'm quarantining by myself. Yes, I'll have bucket of margaritas. It's
been interesting to see restaurants doing a bunch of things like that. I've known there's some other breweries or bars like that. Perfect Plane up in Pensacola actually made a Bloody Mary kit. So they had the bottle of vodka, the tomato juice, basically everything that you needed. Instead of being in a bag, it was kind of do it yourself.
Right.
So mix to your own strength and then take that away. It's been interesting to see how some restaurants are faring with that.
Yeah.
Obviously, how much did you stock your beer fridge when you saw this coming down the pipeline?
That was like some people went out to go get toilet paper. Some people went out to get food for their families. I got beer for my refrigerator and my liver because it's just, I had to stock up. And each time I went somewhere, like one of my favorite breweries, Wild Leap, they came out with their new Alpha Abstraction 12 during quarantine. So of course I had to get like a case of it and get my basics. And then this bad boy, Space Lettuce, came out.
Is that what you're...
There we go.
Nice. Yeah. What is that?
Yeah, it's a double IPA. featuring Galaxy hops. Monday Night Brewing. Peter Kiley is the head brewer there. He's amazing. He does such great stuff over there. But yeah, Space Lettuce, it's really smooth double IPA. It's not too hoppy, nice and like yeah, my flavor profile. I'm still learning my flavor profile, so I'm not advanced just yet. But it's one of my favorites. Stocked up on that. Got lots of sours. Yeah, my beer fridge. And I was quarantining by myself, and yeah, it was just my fridge was mostly beer.
That's amazing. Well, I was going to say, in terms of quarantining by yourself, and in terms of the stuff that you're able to get, how difficult is it as an influencer? I'm going to be very self-serving for a second. How difficult is it as an influencer to keep coming up with new content? Were you able to keep writing or write more or do more than you ever had before? Or was it just, did you come to a grinding halt because there was just no way to talk to anybody that you needed to talk to?
That is a really great question, because I kind of panicked at first because I was like, what am I going to do? But actually it gave me some time to really like dig in and see like what I'm about. We started a Zoom chat with a bunch of other beer influencers. So we've got like Craft Beer Barbie, we've got like Inked Mom and Mugman. Like you've got it. Actually, you need to join it this Friday. But
okay.
But yeah, it's just from all over the country. Like Stop and Smell the Hops has been a really big influence to me. Hoppy Hayes, she's been really helpful. Lady of the Hops, Savannah up in Buffalo, Beer Brat. So they've been really, really helpful. Just getting to know them, and we'll help each other out with our content. But it kind of reinvigorated me into like why I'm doing this and what makes me like just being around people who really, truly love beer. So it actually made me more creative because I had that time to actually take to, you know, match my outfit to the beer, or, you know, just kind of create a setting for the beer. Like Star Wars Day, I actually went all out and got out like my Star Wars Monopoly kit and had like a fun, like Star Wars Day post with it. So it actually turned out to be good. It showed me how to take that time and effort into the post to kind of, instead of just being like, hey, here's my boobs and some beer, blah. Not that I was doing that before, but you know, there's like, you know, some people are just kind of like, that's all they do. And it's, you know, more power to them. But yeah, just kind of like doing.
Well, I was going to say, because as a male podcaster, I don't want to say that I'm an influencer in any way, shape, or form, but
you are.
I don't have those and I can't use those.
Why?
And well, I don't have
Show
them.
some skin. Don't be a prude.
Nobody wants to see this. Trust me.
There's a market for it. I didn't think
so you're trying to say that if
know.
I, as a big fuzzy guy, took off my shirt and replicated those photos, that I would be getting thousands of hits on a regular basis?
Go for it. YOLO. You never know till you try.
We will have to see what my wife thinks about that.
I'm sure she'd be all for it. Are you serious?
Oh, I'm sure. Actually, she probably would be, to be honest with you. I think we've had that conversation before, but it's got to be difficult because we've had several other female influencers, people that I greatly respect, like Carla Jean Lauder and from Pints and Panels, and Chalanda Afro Beer Chick, who's just absolutely killing it on social media these days. And it's got to be difficult for the serious influencers like the four of you, like others, to be able to get a tighter foothold when it doesn't take very much effort to take a quick search and to see just cleavage in cans, and which I'm sure is an account.
And here's the thing with that. There's really no difference because, you know, women's clothes, you know, the fact that people are attracted to that and that, you know, showing a little skin, wearing a swimsuit. I mean, I wear swimsuits, you know, like when I wear a shirt, I'm not just going to wear a turtleneck. And, you know, a lot of women, like use their body to their advantage, which I think is incredible because honestly, we're all here for the same thing, which is beer. And, you know, even though to some it may look like, oh, she's just using her body to get likes. So what? If you've got a great bod, who cares? We're all going to be old and disgusting when we're 90. So show your tits. I don't care. But we're here to talk about great beer because, yeah, like, a lot of people give Hoppy Floppy shit and all these others, but she has good taste in beer, and that's what we're all here for. So I think, just really focusing about like what we're here for and what we're really trying to accomplish, which is making the world of craft beer more widespread, because it used to just be like a good old boys game, and now anybody can get into it. There's so many female brewers, there's so many African American brewers, Latino, like the world of craft beer expanding is really great. So yeah, if someone wants to flash a tit, go for it.
And I was going to ask that about the Atlanta beer scene. Are you seeing a lot of diversity in the owners and the brewers and the people that are actually making the craft beer in Metro and abroad?
Yeah, it's great. It's been really good to see the expansion. And I think the big thing is bringing it to light, meeting with people, having networking, because just kind of from a business perspective, minorities are 70% less likely to get a loan from a bank when it comes to a small business loan or anything like that, just based on the demographics. And with minority women, it's even less. So when you look at all these breweries as to, oh, why is it just white dudes? We need to look at the banks that we're investing in. So when we go to get a loan or open a checking account, we need to look at banks and see their demographic of who they're loaning out to, because someone's race, their skin color, it shouldn't be determined on what sort of loan that you're able to get. Because if you have the same idea as somebody else, you should have that same access. So that has been something that was brought to light, because it was something I never even thought about, check my privilege, but it was something that never even crossed my mind until I saw the numbers and talked to people that were, people who want to open breweries and who are opening breweries, and how much harder it was for them to open their brewery. And, even female brewers, there's a ton of them. We have a great Pink Boot Society, and they are all about investing in the women in the society, giving them scholarships so they can advance their careers, so they can, keep learning. So, the scene here in Atlanta is incredibly diverse, and it's something that I absolutely love about Atlanta. Going to the breweries, it's really just going anywhere in Atlanta. There's no majority or minority. It's just a mix of everybody, which is really, really beautiful to see. And because it is kind of scary if you're not really in the beer scene to rock up to a brewery and not really know, because I've been there. My first brewery that I went to here in Atlanta, I think it was Orpheus, and it was this beautiful brewery. The beer was amazing. I didn't know why it was amazing. I didn't know anything, but I just didn't feel like cool enough to be there. But then once I kind of got in the scene and started getting to know people, I realized that it's a really great and very accepting group of people. So yeah, very diverse.
Well, why did you decide to jump in with both feet? And I'm not just into craft beer as well, but then obviously to take this love of the beer and transform it into the podcast and blog that you have.
Yeah. I didn't know anything about beer 2 years ago, or 2.5 years ago, before I started. I knew nothing. I knew that I liked beer. I knew what a hop was, but every time I would try to ask a question or go to resources, it's usually done by dudes, which, no offense, it just didn't, I didn't find anything that spoke to me and why I wanted to get involved in beer. And anytime I would ask about a beer, like I joined the Atlanta, I joined like a few beer groups around here, and I'd be like, oh, I just got like this new, it was a new, it was like Founders Hop Slam. And I was like, I just got this Hop Slam, and then posted it on the Facebook page. And then within like an hour, I had like 80 comments of people like, that beer's a drain pour. That's more like Hype Slam. So it was like, what the, like,
really?
So it was just kind of like the experience when I first got in was just kind of like, what, like, why is this a bad beer? So then I just decided I'm going to learn about beer myself. I'm going to ask people who brew it. And then when I discovered that there were so many women that brew beer and in the beer industry, I decided to interview women. So that way I'm interviewing people that are that are like me and that know a lot about beer. And actually my first ever episode was with Jen Price. She just now opened the Atlanta Beer Boutique. She's amazing. And she also wrote The Chick's Guide to Beer.
Oh, nice.
And
that's cool.
Yeah, it's a great book. And it goes in so much detail. It's available on Amazon. Just search Chick's Guide to Beer, Jen Price.
Okay.
And it has like really great illustrations in it, but it goes from explaining every single style, explaining the hops, and then it goes into like what glassware you should have and what it's the perfect like starter guide to any sort of beer. So she was the perfect first guest, and I'll have her. We have her. Yeah, I've had her on a couple of times. So
that sounds amazing.
But yeah, I just wanted to be around people that were like me and learn more that way, because I just didn't really find anything that spoke to me. And then it's been really great. I've been able to meet so many amazing people in the industry, and then other people have come to me. I've had so many people that were like, I had no idea that like I could work at a brewery, because she was a social media manager for I think she was like Comcast or some company that she just was like miserable. And she would stop at her local brewery on her way home every day. And then she told me after listening to her episode, she happened to ask the owners of the brewery if they like needed social media help. They're like, actually, yeah, we really could use that. She quit her job and started working for the brewery. And she's like, this is awesome. I didn't know I could do this. All right. So just kind of being able to open people up to the options out there in craft beer world, and that how you can be welcomed into the industry.
That's amazing. And with the industry that's in Atlanta, I'm just curious, since you've entrenched yourself in the scene for a couple of years, what is sort of the style? What are the basics, the things that you can pretty much feel that every brewery, every beer bar, every tap room is generally going to have? What is that overarching feel that you can generally find in Atlanta?
Gosh, that's a really good question. Everyone is so willing to help. We're getting out the beer trolls. We're getting away from them because there's so much, because there's so many craft beer breweries here. There's a lot of neighborhood pride and a lot of hometown pride. So, when you go to a different neighborhood, people are very much like willing to help you understand. They will take you to their local neighborhood brewery. They will, when you go to a bar and you don't know what's on the menu, or you have a question about something, people are very, very willing to help you and teach you about what the different beers and everything. So it's been really great. Really awesome. Like good community vibe.
And it seems that community vibe seems to be going very strongly in Atlanta, because you mentioned the amazing mayor that you have, and you kind of right above your head, you've got the amazing sign. If you do not follow her on Instagram, definitely follow Bitch Beer Podcast and look on her Instagram story, because there was an amazing march that she was actually a part of a few days ago, and you were gracious enough to record the video so we could actually watch that. How has Atlanta been with the current, how do you say, kind of social upheaval and social change and social justice feeling that we've been experiencing here in the United States over the past couple weeks?
Atlanta, I am very, very, very proud of my city. I love living here. It is just, the first night of protests, it was rough. I was there. I wasn't there when stuff started getting violent. And, the thing that we kind of have to remember is protests. It's so easy to look at rioters and looters and just immediately condemn them and rope them in with all the protesters. But our history, I remember very clearly in history class in 4th grade being taught about the Boston Tea Party. And the Boston Tea Party was not just people throwing tea overboard. They burned to the ground British-owned businesses. They absolutely, completely decimated the entire city. So, and that's celebrated. And so I think, not that I am condoning looting or rioting by any means, because we can't tear down our city. If anybody wants to hear a really great speech about that, listen to Killer Mike. He's on IGTV. He did an amazing speech the day after the looting and the rioting and everything. And he was great. It happened one night. And, you know, the next morning, I live right by the Capitol. You know, I was going for my run and I saw everything. Everybody was out with brooms, with garbage bags, like helping cleaning up. It was really incredible. I don't agree with the way they protest. It's not my place to say, or I'm sorry, they weren't protesters. Those were the agitators. I don't agree with that form, but it's, you know, property damage. It's insurance will pay for that, but we can't get back, you know, insurance isn't going to pay for the loss of life of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery. It's just, you know, we have to really, that's the way that they know how to get attention, and the agitators, because even though it was wrong what they did, they still deserve to be heard. And the beautiful thing that came out of the protests, the peaceful protests that I was a part of, I was there pretty much every day. And last day was my last yesterday. Yes, yesterday was one of my last days of protesting. It just being able to, it was very humbling. Being able to sit back and listen to, I mean, I was right in the front lines with the police officers and the National Guard. I wanted to listen. I wanted to be there. And being able to hear, you know, people going right up to the police officers and screaming in their face. They're angry. They're crying. They deserve that they need to say that. The police officers very calmly responding and saying, you're right. Like, what happened in Minneapolis was evil. What happened was wrong. And, you know, our mayor, there was an instance over the first weekend of protests where there were two boys driving home from the protest. It was after curfew, but they were in their car. They were at a traffic light. They were on their way home. And they ended up getting pulled over by police, and the police broke their windows and dragged them out and tased them in the middle of the street. And they weren't doing anything. Keisha Lance Bottoms and our police chief, whose name is escaping me right now, but they reviewed the footage, and in less than 24 hours, both of those officers were fired, and just absolutely fired. No desk leave, anything like that. They're fired. So that's where I think it's important with Atlanta, because we are such a diverse city, and because we are such we are an example of diversity in the United States. So that's where I think we have an ability to make such a difference, because, you know, our police force was there. They were very helpful during the protest. They were there to keep us safe. And they were there, you know, they followed us. They wouldn't lead us in the protest. They were like, all right, if you want to go down this street, no problem. And a motorcycle cop would go and block the street off and direct traffic away from us. So it was definitely a team effort. This is from my perspective. Of course, I know people that were tear gassed and had rubber bullets shot at them. This is, of course, by the National Guard, which is different, and they're a different animal. But our police force was very helpful. And, you know, I really do feel like we were heard, from my perspective, being able to just being able to watch it. And even last night at the protest, the silent protest, the thing that was so moving to me was just, you know, holding up our signs, walking in silence. And there was a mother and a daughter on the side of the road, and just seeing both of them, like they were just videoing it, and they were sobbing just to be able to see all of it. It is really moving, and to see how it really affects people and makes them feel like change is coming, which it is. Change is coming. So being able to see how your presence can just do so much good for people and do so much good for the movement, because they do work. So, and the main quote that is actually currently in my story for the next little bit, the protests are not the end of the conversation. This is the beginning of the conversation. So that's what's been so incredible, just being able to just be present for it and listen and learn from what I'm seeing. So that way, when I go out into, you know, with my family or any of my friends, anybody who makes like inappropriate comments, we got to call them out. you know, even like the smallest little, what seems like a harmless racist joke is still a racist joke, and it's not okay. So that's kind of where we have to start.
Do you think that there is a lot of opportunity for the breweries in the Atlanta area to take out the conversation and to do things within the community to help that change come along?
I think so. I think that would be amazing. I mean, I think, you know, breweries, we could just have, because really talking over a beer is where that's the most peaceful way to speak to somebody, because it's so easy to become an internet troll and just a keyboard warrior. So I think like if, you know, a brewery here were to just, hey, be like, hey, have a beer and let's talk about tough shit. Like, let's ask tough questions. You know, let's talk about stuff with a beer. I think that would be a great opportunity, just to kind of really face the issues head on and, you know, have it happen on your, like, in a peaceful environment. I think that would be a great opportunity.
It's kind of amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember Obama doing that with a police officer that was involved in an altercation with a professor from Harvard, I think. And of course, the fact that they had the White House beer, you know, obviously made everything a little bit better. So
yeah, he was a brewer. He was a home brewer.
I know. You can find the recipe somewhere online. It's not.
No way.
I mean, it's well, it has to be because it was essentially made with public funds, so it immediately became public domain.
Nice.
So yeah, you can find the White House Honey Ale recipe very easily.
I'm
So Caroline King from the Bitch Beer Podcast, based out of Atlanta, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah.
I am going to leave you with the final question that I leave everybody. And I'm curious as to what you say, because I haven't had an Atlanta voice on the show yet. Obviously, you've talked to a lot of breweries and you've been to a lot of breweries since the quarantine happened, and they have had to do things like the open container laws that your mayor recently passed. They've had to do things that are a little bit out of the ordinary for what breweries have been able to do up until this point. Once everything is fine, once the curve has been completely flattened and we can go back to 100% normalcy, are there any changes or things that you have seen or that you have heard of that you think are such a great idea that they need to remain a part of what craft beer is in Atlanta and in the U.S. as a whole?
That's a fantastic question. I think what was happening that was an amazing change is people were going to the brewery to buy their to-go beer. And I think that's incredible. I think people need to remember, because it's easy if you're in the grocery store, not saying don't buy beer at the grocery store, but, make that extra effort to, if you're passing by your local brewery, just stop in and get a 6-pack. Like that has been the biggest change. I actually did one day, I did like a social distance, like with my mask and gloves and everything, road trip through Atlanta and stopped and stocked up on all my beer from the brewery, because you're getting it from the source. And that's where you're going to get the beer that is the best quality. And the brewery knows how to take care of the beer. Sometimes, at Publix, they'll have it sitting in a hot warehouse and then put it in the cooler. And then, it's just, you never know. So the way to get the best quality beer is straight from the brewery. So I hope people will keep doing that and supporting the brewery at the brewery.
Excellent. Yeah, cool. I completely agree. It's always been something that I try to support as much as possible, because obviously the money doesn't have to go very far. So it's always great for that to happen. So Caroline King, thank you so much. Like I said, not only should you listen to Bitch Beer Podcast, but jump on Instagram so you can see the videos of the silent march on her Instagram story. Definitely recommend it. Tomorrow is going to be the last day of our 5-day-a-week show, so we are going to be heading to North Florida, just under the Florida-Georgia line, and chatting with Crooked Rooster Brewing. They are not too far from Hall Patter, who we had on the show previously, kind of a darling in North Florida beer, and we're definitely looking forward to chatting with them. For more information on the show, we're always at floridabeermedia.com. Caroline King, thank you so much for coming on, and we will see everybody tomorrow at 6 p.m. Bye.
Awesome. Thank you.